Daddy's back.
Yo, what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host, the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the yard streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind, part of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show, where we take no nights off. You can't have the Raw Rewind without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
You sound better.
A little bit, yeah.
Un poquito.
Yeah, a little. That's what I said. So.
Okay, well, maybe we have Spanish viewers.
I mean, maybe, but I don't recall that being a high percentage when I've looked. So
I'm just around. Sara, have you ever worked at a job where you speak your native tongue less than another language?
No.
Yeah, I speak more Spanish at my job than I do
I don't know any other languages, so I only know a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of sign language, but
You know sign language?
yeah, I
Like how much?
I mean, I know the full alphabet, and then I know like a few signs. I wasn't like I was better at learning sign language. My issue, which it was even with any language, I feel like for people it's easy to learn a language, it's hard to understand, like to learn to understand it, you know. That's the problem I always have, is like I could speak Spanish, like not great obviously, because you know, you don't, where I lived, you didn't learn a language until 9th grade, which I think is ridiculous.
That's really late.
I know. So I wasn't great at it, but my problem was like having a conversation with someone. And so it was the same thing with sign language. Like I would learn the signs like do, and then it was like trying to have a conversation with somebody where I was like
implementing it. Yeah.
I only have used it one time, and it was at a wrestling show. Actually, I went to an indie show to see EC3, and
you mark.
yeah, and yeah, well, that was when he wanted to like hang out, and I was like,
when you were big time,
and then I didn't hang out.
Oh.
But anyway, no, so we were standing in line, and the line was outside, like right at the parking lot, and this guy came up, and his car alarm was going off. And I don't remember how I knew he was deaf. Like there was something happened that I knew he was deaf, and I felt bad because like all these people were just standing there staring at him because his car alarm's going off. And I'm like, dude, he can't hear it. Like that, he doesn't know.
Yeah, like, yeah. I'm just like I'm like empathetic. I'm putting myself in
I know.
In that
so
moment. It's so like
I was getting pissed off because I felt like no one was trying to do anything. And at this point, I had been graduated for like over 10 years, like 10 to 15 years or whatever. And I'm like, I don't use sign language. So I literally just like spelled it out on the alphabet so that he could understand what I was saying, because I was like, it's the only way I could help him. So I helped him. He turned it off and he thanked me, and then he hung out with us, and I felt bad because like I was trying to understand him, but I remember like
on every word
I was saying. I understood a lot of what he was saying, like because we were talking about wrestling. And then when we got inside, this was the thing that was so weird, right? So inside, because it's an indie show, so there's like a bar inside, right?
It's my favorite part about indie shows.
And the woman that was working there, she knew a little bit of sign, and then so he was writing stuff because he had a question, and then the bartender like says to the whole room, because we're all waiting to go in, if anyone there knew sign language. This girl comes up, both of her parents are deaf, so she's fluent in sign language. I'm like, what are the chances of this? So she helped him, and then he ended up hanging out with her like the whole night. Like they were so nice to him, and like he was so thankful. And then I was like, okay, good, like he's in good hands, you know, because I'm like, I don't want him
really cool
to like
story.
not to have somebody.
Yeah,
and
of course
then
not.
we saw him a couple times like during the show, and he was like saying hi, and like he said bye to us, like he was so nice. And I was like, see, guys, this is like why it's important to like,
Well, he's got
first of all, just help people, but second
yeah.
of all, like even if you want to learn sign language, it's like you can, and it's just like any other language. It's not like super easy, but I mean, even just knowing the alphabet, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like, imagine if he's sitting there and you weren't there, and his car alarm's
yeah.
going off, like, that's terrifying, then it ruins his whole night, and then he's like
Mhm.
I don't know,
So,
that's a
well,
really
and
cool
because then
story.
he parked next to us too, so then we saw him when we were leaving, and he was
Yeah.
like saying bye or whatever. So anyway, so that's the only time I've had to use it, but I like using it. I used to love it when I worked at the grocery store when I was a teenager because I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody while we were bagging, and I had a friend there who took sign language, so we would sign to each other. But anyway, that's my but yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, I don't have to sign, I just speak Spanish. It's that's a language that I think is very useful along with sign language.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
we've talked a lot, a little open up. There you go.
Yeah.
Learned a little bit about the champ and the best here in the art
Mhm.
streams, and that's what happens on the Raw Rewind. You learn a little bit about us. You learn a little bit more about why Drew McIntyre is frustrated.
Mhm.
And you learn that the After Party is the best women's tag team on, and actually the Creed brothers too. The NXT tag team division is creeping up to become the best part of the main roster tag division. So all that
Mhm.
is going to be discussed today on the Raw Rewind. Thank you for subscribing. As always, follow us, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thumbs up, notification, know when we go live. And the other social media platforms, follow us there. Links are in the description below. Sarah, what do you want to talk about?
Drew McIntyre.
Oh,
So we were blessed. We were all
fucking
blessed.
speaking of sign language. All right, I'll give you two of these.
No,
I'm
we
I'm
were
out on I'm out on Drew McIntyre right now.
I'm on Drew McIntyre.
Okay,
So
okay.
anyway, Drew starts the show, and at first I thought, I was like, all right, we're really starting with the match first. I'm like, all right, they're going full into it immediately because he came out in his gear. So I'm like, all right, cool. But no, he gets on the mic, and I was like, all right, I'm fine with this. And what I think is funny is still, and I saw people saying it last night, is like, before getting into everything that he says, I know we've talked about this a lot, but it just like every single week, it just keeps happening that you're reminded that he's his character is, I think it was Sean Ross Sapp that said his character is basically rooted in common sense, but we're supposed to hate him for it. Like, it's so true because it's like we're supposed to hate
It's so
him.
true.
We're supposed to hate him because he's not going to forgive guys that beat him up, made sure he lost a title or a title opportunity, guys who have been proven to not be trustworthy by for everyone basically at Raw. And we're supposed to hate him for that, even though we would probably feel the same. Like,
Because the
that's his
truth
gimmick.
hurts, Sarah. The truth
It's
hurts.
it's just such a weird thing. Like, to a certain extent, I get it. You know, it's easy to build a guy against Cody or Sammy or Jay, like right now. So if you're trying to build a bad guy against them, it's like, yeah, okay, we'll just have them go against them because like people are gonna hate them instantly. But it also is just kind of like a weird storyline because I'm like, when you think about it from your point of view, like your perspective, your life, uh uh the situations in your
Yeah,
life,
your point of view. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, okay, I'm Drew. Like, I would, the same thing would happen to me, but
Yeah.
um
It's very interesting, the whole thing.
it's, I think it's one of those storylines that's kind of annoying to me. Like, it's like and I've said this time and time again. I think it's because I know that it's just wrestling and it's just a storyline, but I feel like we've kind of gotten to that point in wrestling where the characters aren't over the top. They're not superhuman. They're not
Yeah,
like comic book characters or
I would
supervillains
agree.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when that's the case, it's like the storylines, the feuds, whatever. if it feels bigger than life, it's in the right space because
Mhm.
that's what they're showing you. But now we're at a point where WWE is presenting like humans to you. Like, are some of it something like superhuman? Yeah, because it's like, okay,
Yeah,
Roman's
their
got the
ability,
Superman
yeah.
punch, and I don't know, Bobby Lashley is like the strongest guy,
Or
and like
LA Knight's elbow is supposed to be
stuff.
a
Yeah,
signature.
yeah, so like
Yeah.
stuff like that, it's like, okay, but I feel like as far as storylines go, this is one where you like think about it and try to relate to it, and then when you relate to it, it's like I feel like there's gonna be more people who relate to Drew's point of view of this situation than Sammy or Cody, who are just like, no, I forgive everybody because it was a mistake and he's a good person now. And I'm like, how many times has
Yeah.
that happened to you in your life and you got stabbed in the back for it? You
Like
know?
every time, just pull the knife out. Just keep pulling the knife out.
Y-
It I agree that right now we're seeing a lot of storylines that have a lot of human elements within them. And
Mhm.
these storylines beforehand would be just wrestling. I wouldn't say like supernatural, but I understand what you mean that it's just
Well, not
Hollywood,
supernatural, it's like
cinematic.
yeah, well, it's because it's like Hulk Hogan,
Yeah,
versus like
yeah,
the
no,
Ultimate
that's
Warrior. It's like
I
they're
give you
not
that. That's
real
still
people.
supernatural. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going away from that and more into that attitude era we saw it kind of teased at first in the attitude era where Triple H began all that. So you're seeing a lot of his day when he was at the top in these storylines and how he does things. And Drew McIntyre being pissed because of common sense
Yeah.
is the most attitude grunge type of thing because he's wearing black and he's pissed off that Sammy said the whole like what he said, whatever. Point is, we're going too far. But like you feel for him and it's dark, but it's like a little over the top where you're like, yeah, I'd be pissed, but oh, I wouldn't do that. And that's a kind of
Cuz yeah, I think
yeah.
it's just where, and that's the thing that I think is nice, because I think obviously there are elements that are still a part of like, the 90s 80s era of wrestling where it is like comic book superhero type of thing, because that's appealing to kids, especially because you want to pick the good guy over the bad guy, whereas the adults, which I think is they're obviously their bread and butter audience, like 18 to 35 or whatever. I think when it comes to characters and storylines, it's a lot easier to to get those people interested in your product if they can relate to somebody. And so
Mhm.
these storylines I think are happening at the right time, because it doesn't feel over the top little kiddish, which like
No,
that has happened even like during the Be a Star era, which like that was great. The message is great and I'm glad that they did it and I'm glad they
I
still
remember.
push it, but there
Yeah,
were some really
but
corny stuff going on at that
yeah,
time.
it's tough to be too corny. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think now it's like there are going to be people that feel represented by Sammy, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to feel represented by Drew, and I feel like it's easier for people to get involved and like emotionally invested in the storyline when you have a little bit more of like I said, like the human element to it, where people can actually think about their own experiences and like view it through them on
Hmm.
TV, if that makes sense. You
I
know?
agree. No, yeah, 1,000%.
Okay. So anyway, so when Drew comes out looking good, and he basically just calls everybody out, which I loved. I was just, I was here for it.
Chicken
Um
you.
yeah. I was like, get him,
You.
baby. And so he calls out CM Punk too a little bit, which I think it was like, this is the thing, like teetering the line, because we see it. I'm going to mention it later about Seth Rollins too. I like that they're not ignoring what happened to what we all saw, with Seth's reaction, with Drew's alleged reaction, that their unhappiness about Punk being there. I'm glad that that's not being completely put on the back burner, but I'm glad that it's not at the forefront either, because I don't want Drew to be taken out of this current story that he's in, and I don't want Seth just thrown to Punk like immediately. I feel like we need to like wait, have Punk's return kind of simmer a bit, let us get used to the fact that he's back, because
Yeah,
we're still in the honeymoon phase. Well, some people, not, but you know what I mean.
I know what I
Um,
mean.
So I like that when it comes to those two that they're not forgetting about it, but it's not the focus. So he does call him out, and that's why Drew was like, "Oh, I could have been talking about anybody," and it's like, yeah, we know. um, but then Sammy does come out and interrupt him, of course, and just
I love
does
the
his
timing on this. Did you notice that?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love
It was
that.
it almost seems like Drew wasn't supposed to say Sammy's name and that his music was just supposed to play, but still perfectly timed. Um, but
Just little detail.
Sammy is just out there saying the same stuff that he's been saying, like, oh, blah, 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 you need to move on. But then he then pulls it out and is like, no, we've been through the same thing. Like, he takes it a step further than just we've been through the same thing because we've had title shots and we've had them taken away. He's like, no, we had a title shot that we were going after for a very long time. We were against Roman or whoever. And with our families there, and we had to lose, and it was embarrassing and it was heartbreaking and blah, blah, blah. But like, I took it as fuel, and that's why I went on to win the main event at WrestleMania. But you've taken it and like dwelled in it and blah blah blah. I'm making my family proud. Are you making your family proud? And I was like, oh boy,
That was a
oh
switch.
boy.
That was the switch right there, and that's where you see Drew. And that was the turn.
Mm-hmm.
That one phrase was the heel turn because you made it personal.
Yep.
Drew McIntyre is the last person you want to make anything personal with.
Yeah.
Oh, he's an angry
That's
little
my
Scotsman.
Scottish bay.
That is just incredible.
So Drew then is like, oh, okay. Why don't we just have our match right now? And I was like, yeah. So then they get a referee out, and we immediately just get right into Sami Zayn versus Drew. And this was a great match. Banger of an opener match, which I'm so glad that we're getting to a point where that's almost becoming regular, like it's becoming normal for Raw and or SmackDown, because I would love for a show to start like this every single week. Like, it doesn't have to be a match, but it would be great that if they are going to have a match, be like basically the kickoff to the show, have it be a match that should be a main event. Like, pull me
Yeah,
in right away. Have a main event to start the show and a main
absolutely.
event to end the show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very physical match, great match, obviously, pretty long one as well.
Yeah, I
And
got like 1 or 2 commercial breaks.
and I noticed that was a theme throughout the show. Quite almost every single match had really good time, but it
Mm.
didn't feel like matches were too long or things were cut short or we were missing anything,
No, I
which
don't
is
think
good.
I.
So in the match, Sammy seems to kind of like tweak his leg, ankle, knee, whatever, which Drew obviously then goes after. He ends up taking advantage of that to basically attack it on purpose to help him win. And then
Yeah.
we later see the full-blown heel of Drew McIntyre when he attacks Sammy after the match backstage, that is finally broken up by Adam Pearce security and the producers, and we get a hint that maybe we're gonna see more between Jay and, Drew, because Jay comes and, tries to check on Sammy, and he says, like, "Drew's mine now, like, I'm gonna handle Drew," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so we're gonna continue this." But I do think that this is the perfect way for them to have Drew go full into this heel turn. Like I said, to start it, it made sense to go align yourself with the Judgment Day.
Oh yeah.
And especially in a War Games match, that had Cody and Sammy and Jay and Seth and Randy. Like, yeah, okay,
I
like
want to
that
fight
is
these guys.
yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
make you hated. And now that you just took Sammy out, which I don't know if he's taken off TV. I don't know. It looked like it, but who knows?
Mm-hmm.
People are gonna hate him. So I am here for this. I am loving it. This is the Drew McIntyre that we have needed, and I'm so glad that they're doing it now, because that means that we're gonna have heel McIntyre from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
Oh, I can't wait to see his entrance for Mania.
Stop it.
That's gonna be a sweet entrance.
I'm so
That's gonna be a
excited.
sweet entrance.
I'm gonna be like, yeah. I'm gonna be like one of the only people like, yeah.
Everyone's like, boo, Sarah, just stand up.
I'm
Yes,
I'm gonna be the only person cheering for every single bad guy.
Yo,
That's gonna
that's
be me. I love being that person though. I'm like, I don't care.
You love your
Or the
heel.
only person cheering John Cena. That's the other thing I used to do as well, because everyone was
Yeah,
like, Cena
weird time.
sucks.
John Cena sucks.
Yeah.
John
So
Cena sucks.
anyway, do you have any other feelings about this? Are you happy? Are
Yeah, I
you
mean, it needed to happen. That's
mm-hmm.
really all it is that there's no more waiting anymore. There's none of this will he or won't he bullshit going on. You know, he's full heel. An attack to Sami Zayn backstage clearly shows that he is going full heel and it doesn't matter who he takes out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that we see an aggressive side of Drew now, because we do
Yeah.
need that heel on Raw right now. That's not Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And it gives a potential opponent for Seth that may not Mania, Royal Rumble.
I know, which would be nice.
But now, okay, I'll wait to ask this question after our main event, because
Okay.
it kind of goes along with the main event.
Okay. Do you want to get to comments? I saw we have comments. So
Yeah, so Bernard's here, was popping.
Hello.
David, hello. Dickie's here.
Hello. Hello. Raw was good.
David, other David is here.
What's up?
Sammy being written off gives me the impression we're getting Drew versus Sammy at Mania. At Mania for the World Heavyweight. Now,
Hmm.
only if a certain matchup happens, then I'm okay with this. Other than that,
Seth versus Punk.
yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
But then you want Punk versus Austin, so
that's the thing. I'm okay with either.
What if it was a triple threat? But this is the thing, is like,
But do you want Seth in a I want Seth one-on-one at Mania. Mania
but if
40 used to
Punk,
be
if it's
one-on-one.
Punk versus Austin, then I wouldn't mind Seth, Drew, Sammy.
What do you do? Oh, is Jay fighting Jimmy?
Yeah, if we're assuming that, yeah.
Okay, then yes. Okay. I'm in on that then.
But the thing is like, yeah, something we have to remember between Mania and Rumble is the Elimination Chamber. So
that could spark some shit.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is like, we're thinking like, okay, at this point right now, what we're trying to think of, like, okay, what's going to happen at Rumble, right? But then we're like, and then we're jumping straight to Mania. We need to remember that Elimination Chamber is in between it, and like that can change things. Also, Sammy versus Drew, or even Sammy versus Drew versus Seth, and Seth doesn't even have to be champion. That's why I'm saying, like, he doesn't have to be the one that is champion at Mania. It could be Drew at Mania. That feels like the opportunity for Damien to cash in. And I don't mean that he would be successful, but that feels like the opportunity for him to do that. And it's like, I don't know if Damien will be successful, but we don't know what's going to happen between now and now and then with Judgment Day either. Like, they've been kind of teasing tension within Judgment Day for quite a while now, but they haven't done anything with it really. So it's like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Dude, there's so many possibilities.
So many. I could sit here and just think for like a whole about all the endless possibilities that could happen.
I get my hopes up too much about what I want. Like, I saw someone like a wrestling account tweet out today. I think it was like Wrestle Features or something, that was like, who are your top favorites, or like your predictions to win the Rumble matches? And first of all, I am sickened by the amount of people who actually want CM Punk to win the Rumble.
Oh, wait, like, don't tell me it's like a majority amount.
Yeah. A lot of them were saying, a lot of them were saying CM Punk, or there was, I saw a lot of CM Punk or Sammy, or CM Punk or Gunther. Okay. That was a lot of what I was seeing. But
I could take either Sammy or Gunther.
But I responded and I was like, I will never understand the people choosing Punk. That was my response. Like, I didn't even answer the question. I was just like, you guys are dumb. Like, you're dumb.
No, that's like, okay, fan perspective of Punk. Yes, that's awesome. Great for his story if you are an only CM Punk fan. All right, now let's take like a couple steps back, Sarah, and realize how dumb that is and how that would pigeonhole him for Mania, that he couldn't face Austin. He couldn't have just a banger, non-sanctioned type match with Seth Rollins.
Well,
like,
but also, Guys, he's going to Raw. You want him to face Roman? If he goes to Raw, he can't face Roman, technically.
Yeah, he's going to Raw, 100%.
And that's the thing is like, why are we all of a sudden now abandoning the idea of Cody versus Roman? Instead, you want Punk versus Roman. Why? Like, there's just no, no.
And fickle.
It's just
they are fickle pickles.
That's the word for everything right now. Patriots fans.
Everyone's just fickle.
Richard says Sammy for Rumble. I want Gunther, dude.
Yeah, I want Gunther, but if
I need Gunther.
I wouldn't be disappointed.
I would.
You and your Imperium boys.
Well, but this is the thing. This is okay. So other than my bias of what because I love Imperium and whatever.
Yeah.
My thing is when it comes to wanting Gunther to win the Rumble is he is somebody that we have talked about feeling like he's stagnant, like that he's bigger than the Intercontinental Championship. Okay, so that means that he shouldn't win the Rumble. Someone else should, and then they should be feuding with the champion, and then Gunther either loses the title and then has nothing to do, or he continues having the title and still feeling too big for the title, meaning he's still stagnant and doing nothing. I don't understand how that makes any sense. Like, do we want Sammy to win maybe at some point? Yeah, like I get it, but like at the same time, he's already had multiple world title chances. He's already had main events for the title. Like Gunther is not there yet. So like, wouldn't it make sense? And because then the other thing is people are like, no, I want Gunther to face Brock Lesnar at Mania. Why though? Like, why? Like you're saying he should face Brock Lesnar because you want to see it more than him trying to advance his career and be in a title match at Mania?
No, Sarah, if Gunther versus Brock was for the title and Gunther's the champion, like a year down the line, are you for that match?
Mania 41, sure. SummerSlam next year, sure.
Yeah, okay. 40. All right, I'm just gauging where you're at. Okay.
I'm fine with Gunther versus Lesnar. I was here for that when it was being teased, like when it was like an idea. I just don't think that it needs to happen at Mania because I feel like when Gunther loses the title, like I've said this a million times, he needs to have a path to follow to get him to the main event. Otherwise, he just had this historic title reign for nothing. And it's like, you can't just take the title off of him and then be like, okay, let's see what's next. No, like you don't keep a title on a guy for this long. You don't make this Intercontinental title almost rival the heavyweight championship on Raw, or even feel more important than the Universal title because Roman's never around. You then take it off of him and then have him fend for himself, basically. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you don't do that with a guy like Gunther. You need to have a plan in place. You need to have something figured out for him. But
absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree more with that.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page then. It makes all right, so sense. Then we see Becky Lynch is being interviewed in the back. And of course, Nia Jax rolls up and interrupts Get out of here, again.
Barney.
Because that is her thing now, I guess. Becky says that she was talking about all the fights that she has her eyes on, but that she forgot that her and Nia have never gone one-on-one before. So maybe they should, get in the ring and do something. And Nia was like, well, I need to go take care of Shayna Baszler first. And then I'm all yours. And so Becky was like, okay, girl, whatever you say. So then we get a Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler. And this I thought was very interesting because they're really trying to build Nia up to be a dominant figure in the women's division.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but I think we've gotten it, like, it wasn't just, I mean, I know that this wasn't the match that was like, oh, yeah, for sure now. It's like, but I feel like this was like when you're realizing it even more because it wasn't just like, oh, they had her beat Zoe, all right, or they had her beat so-and-so, Raquel, or whoever, so whatever.
Yeah, Raquel was like, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
Zoe, okay, is like Shayna, okay, because it wasn't that long ago that they were doing the same thing with Shayna, where they were having her just come out and dominate every woman that she was in a match with, having her knock him out or have them tap out in 2 seconds. So, the fact that they're now switching that around and having Nia do that, and she does it to Shayna, of all people, I'm like, "Oh, okay, so it's Nia's turn to be, like, the top girl right now or something." I don't know. But I think my main confusion is I would just like to know why. Why? Like, why? Why Nia? Like, it's not even
Thinking,
just because I'm not like a fan of
thinking.
Nia. It's more of like, why Nia?
Oh, I'm trying to put this in a nice way, but she's the irresistible force. That's that you need an irresistible force in any division, and you have that in the
What does
women's
that mean
division with
to
her.
you?
Okay, what does it mean to you, Sarah?
Well,
Because I want
irresistible means
to.
like I can't not have her.
Oh, okay, not what I meant at all.
Irresistible? That means that
They
like you
called
have
it.
to
They
have
called it. It was the irresistible force meets the unmovable object. I'm
yeah, but
comparing her to Andre the Giant.
it's just weird. Irresistible means like,
It's with the phrases. I don't know.
I know. I'm
Oh,
saying the
okay.
word doesn't make any sense is what I'm saying. Um,
I mean,
I
she
mean,
is pretty irresistible. Have
all
you
right,
seen those
whatever.
eyes?
Okay. So I'm guessing that they're just trying
You need
to
one.
it feels like they're trying to do to her what they were trying to do with Raquel to like make it seem like there's another equal in the division to Rhea. It feels like that's what they're doing, but what I think is funny is like they've had Rhea have plenty of matches with girls who would not be considered her equal as far as size. You had her have a title match against Zelina. You've had her go against Liv Morgan. Like these are not girls that are her equal. She's two of them.
Yeah.
So
In
like,
that regard, yeah.
do we really need for her to be going against Nia just because Nia's tall and then she's not like petite? You know, like I don't know. I mean, that's what it seems like the end game is, just because like they don't really need to do this with her for anyone else, like because after she wins we get Becky coming out and Nia runs away, but it's like, do we really need to be convinced that Nia is like dominant in order for her to face Becky? Like I don't it's like
Yeah, I agree
it's
with that. It's
confusing. It's just
I
confusing.
it is confusing, especially because Nia's only really beat, like as we said, Zoe. You beat Raquel, and then I mean the big one is Shayna, obviously, but like I don't know. I just
Even Shayna's push has slowed down though, so it's
yeah,
like,
that's got stagnant too.
so that's what I
That's
mean.
got
Like, are we
stagnant.
supposed to be impressed? Like, this would be different if it was like a month ago or whatever when they were just having Shayna go out there and like beat girls. This is like Shayna's been having backstage segments with Zoe and saying, shut your hole to Nia. So
Funny though.
that was funny.
It was
But
funny.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly interested in Becky versus Nia, but I think that it's again, if there's a bigger purpose here, and the purpose is to try and push Nia towards the top to look like a good opponent for Rhea. It also could make it so like Becky is pushed to going towards Rhea against Rhea, something. I don't know, but I don't know.
And that's $5
Main event pro.
dono from Main
I
Event
think we
Pro.
need we need like a song for you to sing
We
to him,
do need to, because when Mr. Kennedy,
Mr.
donated.
Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, sorry, I knew it was one of the dude, one of the gimmicks. I got him with one, but I don't have one for Main Event Pro. I'll have to think of one. Oh, we'll get
We
them in my
appreciate
narc.
you.
But we appreciate you. Monday Night Raw was awesome.
It was.
It was. I think it was awesome. I think it's a
I
good
was
way. I
gonna
think
say, don't
awesome.
act like it wasn't. It was way better than SmackDown. So
I agree. It was better than SmackDown. I
yeah,
just
this
like
last
SmackDown
SmackDown. I'm not
too.
saying in general, but
No, I know. I just like
yeah,
the little
yeah,
quality, the
yeah.
beef. Um,
Oh yeah, we
yeah.
had no beefy men last night.
No beefy men.
I just thought about that. We didn't get any Ivar or
There's no
Bronson.
Bronson Reed.
I wanted to see them fight forever. Remember?
Maybe they were still fighting.
Maybe they
Maybe they were
are.
fighting
They're
across the
fighting on the
country.
airplane right now.
That's one plane ride from hell. I'll tell you
That
that.
would be terrifying.
Oh, we got some
Um,
Becky comments. Becky and Nia is a filler. Same with Cody and Shin. Both interesting feuds, but that I don't mind watching. I would like. Here's my thing with the Becky Nia feud is that I'm not overexcited about it, but it makes sense for their history, so I'm interested. Like Nia did break her nose,
that
and
is true. She created the
and
man.
she
So
did create it. So because of that, and I want to see how they're going to play it out in the ring, that makes me interested. I don't care if it's Nia Jax. The person that could have broke
no,
Becky Lynch's nose could have been Natalia, or it could have been Piper Niven. Like that, it's not about that. It's just about, oh, this person did it. Becky's getting her revenge whatever. But it was the moment that catapulted her to be the man. So
queen.
you want to see that moment happen where
Yeah.
she faces it off and whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's also, like I said, I think it's trying to make Nia into something. And so that's what it is. Because, yeah, Becky doesn't need this. She doesn't need to face Nia. You know what I mean? But
Do you think Nia wins?
I don't know. Possibly. I mean, if they're trying to have her look like a good opponent for Rhea, then she might have to beat Becky and then lose to Rhea. But like, I don't really see how she challenges Rhea after losing to Becky.
That's true.
You know, I mean, then if that is what happens, then Becky could go after Rhea. But then it's also like, why would you put all of that effort into doing that with Nia to then ultimately just have her like not do anything with the push?
Agreed.
Um, moving on to DIY versus Imperium in 2 out of 3 falls match, which I have to tell you guys, I felt like I was living on another planet. I don't know what I did to deserve this match, but I was very happy it happened, even if I did text Pat some expletives texts about the result.
Yeah,
Because I
you weren't
did.
too happy. You were not
No.
too happy about that result.
So before the match, we see Imperium roll up on the way minus Theory and Dexter, but
Where
you
is
know,
that?
and they were just making fun of Imperium, which I didn't appreciate. But what obviously you take away from it is that Kaiser tells Vinci basically, "Don't mess this up for me," and Vinci's like, "All right," but then he's like, says like, "Same can be said to you," and just like laughs and like walks away, and I was like, Gio. And
Gotcha.
so this match I was really excited about because we don't get to see these types of matches very often. And I was excited that I knew that this was going to be a good match. So that was why I was excited.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate that Imperium got the first pin with the help of Giovanni Vinci outside of the ring. Kaiser gets the first pin on Ciampa to put them up 1-0. And the biggest thing that I took away from this match, other than anger, was I was so happy that we finally got to see so much more of what Giovanni Vinci can do in the ring. This is what I've been saying for
Oh,
weeks, dude. I've said weeks because it's
incredible.
becoming more frustrating. But I am so happy that we got to see what he can do, like the moonsault where he's just jumping on the
Yeah,
rope.
that's
Like,
the
come
obvious.
on.
That was incredible. The move that stands out to me was the piss missile crossbody
Yeah, yeah.
off the rope. That was the fastest
Mhm.
crossbody I've ever seen. Michael
Mhm.
Cole made a comment, or Wade Barrett, I forget who one of the two made a comment about it. It was the fastest bullet I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Like,
This is like
absolutely insane.
he's so good. And so I'm like, I just
He is really
I it
good.
made me sit there and ask myself like what changed to make you be like, yeah, okay, yeah, do your thing out there in this match of all matches. You know what I mean? Because it's like they end up losing, obviously, which we'll get to in a second. But I'm like, why is it that it was this match that Triple H was, or whoever it was like, yeah, do your thing out there, like show them the Vinci
There it
that we
is.
got in NXT, like why now? I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just kind of curious, like, why was he allowed to do this stuff now? but up and every other match that he's had up until this point, you were like, no, hold that back. We don't want to acknowledge how good you are were in NXT, because they did mention that. Cole, I think, was talking about how he's a high flyer and he does this, and I'm like, interesting.
No one's ever said that.
Yeah, you've never mentioned this before. Like I thought that was interesting.
This needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because Kaiser needed to take the fall.
I know, I haven't gotten there yet. I am so excited. Oh
Oh.
my God. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
wait. I'll have my...
I'm sorry. These are my boys. Okay.
I'll let you go. I'm letting you go. Talk about your boys.
Yeah, so Gargano gets the second pin on Vinci, which pissed me off also because it was a schoolboy, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "Bro, all right." So I assumed that was just. I was like, "All right, this is the end. This is the end." I knew it was going to be 1-1, obviously, but then I just knew. I was like, "It's going downhill from here." So the rest of the match was great. Obviously, Imperium loses, but the only good thing was that Kaiser is the one who lost the match, boy. Yeah. Okay. So that made me excited because I'm like, all right, Vinci taking the first pin, like, yeah, that's bad, but like, it's the first pin. It's gonna happen. Like, you still have another one. So I was like irritated about that. But then the fact that Kaiser is the one who took the second pin, I was like, yep, okay, brother, this is better. Because if Vinci took both, I was gonna literally gouge my eyes out because I was just gonna be like, what is happening? Okay.
It would have been justifiable because this man just constantly is taking the fall. No reason.
That's a conversation I want to have with Triple H. Like, if you could have one conversation with Triple H, what would you ask him? Why does Giovanni Vinci always take the pin?
Always take the fall. Why was he just doing it?
Out of all of the questions I could ask him, that would be the only one.
But that's a good question. That's a good booking question.
So, my other thought, like I said at the beginning, I wasn't happy about the result. And it's like, I try to think about it from both ways, okay? Like, I try to think of like, oh, okay, it's DIY, like they're new-ish as a group, so that's why they had to win. And then I even was like, I think it was on Denise Salcedo's tweet where she was like, oh my God, that was a banger match, it was fire, blah 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 blah, I love Imperium's, like they were so great in that match. And I was like, yeah, it would be awesome though if they could win sometimes, like that was my response. And this guy answers me and he was like, it's to further the Imperium storyline. And I'm like, all right, thanks for mansplaining. But also,
slapped you over the face with that.
Yeah. The thing that, but see, my rebuttal to that is, how long are we going to keep going with that part of the storyline though? Because we've said this, we just had this conversation a week or two ago that the Imperium storyline is slow, and everything is just like in slow motion when it comes to the group and like what is going on with Gio, Ludwig, and Gunther, because obviously like they're a trio, but there's like 3 moving parts. Like there's so many different things going on.
So many different moving parts.
But the tension between them and like, oh, Kaiser's the daddy's favorite and now Gio's daddy's favorite. It's like it's been changing and it's been going on for so long and nothing has come about it. And so when we keep being like, oh, well, it's to further their story, how much further can you take the story? They're basically an inch away from the finish line. We just don't know how to get over the finish line.
Yeah.
So that's the frustration that I have, because like I am all for storylines continuing, and okay, it makes sense for this person to lose and it makes sense for this person to win. Like I'm on here all the time talking
That's
about
all we do.
Yes.
That's
so
all
it's
we
like,
do.
I get it. But when it comes to Imperium, I don't feel like it's going to keep making sense for them to keep losing. And then you're actually not doing anything to further their storyline. And each and every week it's, oh, well, Gunther's going to be mad at you. No, he's going to be mad at you. And then they go out and lose. And, oh, you're going to have to explain this. And like, what's Gunther going to do? And then nothing happens. So that's why I'm getting like, you can't really shoot that back at me,
I can see next. Yeah, we'll go. Keep going.
The only thing, like I said, the only reason you can say that DIY needed to win was because they were newer and they're trying to like establish them on the main roster as like a legitimate tag team, which is ridiculous. But I get it because of the audiences don't overlap. But like that's basically the only reason. Otherwise, it's like there's no super deep long-term storytelling here that was like, finally DIY got the win, or like this was the nail in the coffin. It was like, no, they just
There
needed
was
to
none
win
of
so
that.
that people cared. That was basically it.
More people need to care about DIY.
That's it.
It's literally that was the whole point of the match.
Mm-hmm. So
That's all I got. Yeah, that's
that's just what it is. I don't know. Anyway, since I just went on for a million miles
you
a
took
minute.
that and ran with that. I let you just go. Those are your boys. You talk your talk.
My boys. Do you want to get to comments because I see some about that. I see some about
This
Imperium.
one, I think Imperium wins tag titles at Bash at Berlin.
Don't Richard, Dickie, whatever you want to go by. I'm calling you Richard because that's your name. But oh my god,
I'm calling you Richard because that's your name.
Well, that's just what's on the screen, so
you don't make nicknames.
But
I get it.
I really like people who go by their legitimate name. Like if their name is Michael and they go by Michael, I just think that's cool. I don't know. There's just something about it. It's like, oh, you're Michael, okay, or you're Jonathan. You're not John, Johnny. Like you're Jonathan. I don't know. So like if he goes by Richard, then yeah, I'm calling you Richard.
You like me going by
goes,
Patrick? Like what? Ew.
That would be cool if you went by Patrick.
No, I'm not a Patrick. Don't you? No, that's Patrick is corporate. It's so corporate.
Anyway, I would be fine with either of those situations. However, I think they need to split them because it really looks like they want the Creeds to like be a champion.
It's not even close.
So I think they need to split the titles. The problem is that they're all on Raw. So but I feel like you cannot do my boys wrong at the Bash in Berlin. Come on now. Do not do them wrong. Hello.
Just came into and tomorrow's my birthday. What's up, Nathaniel? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Shout out Nathaniel for his birthday.
Oh yeah, my blanket, my Patriots blanket's behind me.
And then Dickie again. I think the Imperium storyline is just Gunther making his guys compete with each other, so they better one another. I'm sure Triple H knows, and Gunther even said in interviews, no breakup. Yeah, it just
he said that. Oh my god. Okay.
Someone's happy.
I want to see my boys at Mania. Oh my god. Can you imagine if I met them? I would be like, this would be me.
These are directions I cannot wait for. I'm so excited.
I don't know that you're gonna be there all the time. You said you didn't want to meet like all these people, so
well, it depends. With the cash flow.
I'm gonna end up going to a bunch of stuff by myself, probably.
Well, we gotta see what the cash flow is. And I just found out one of the guys who wrestles in Limitless will be in Philly that weekend wrestling. So if it's at one of the days that we're not in the WWE, then
that's Thursday.
He's going to be there Thursday. So.
No, Thursday's the only day that we don't have stuff to do.
Perfect.
Yet.
Yeah,
because there's probably going to be meet and greets or something. Otherwise, Friday is SmackDown, Saturday in Hall of Fame, Saturday's NXT and Mania, Sunday's Mania, Monday's Raw. So I don't know what you're planning on, what free time you think you have, but I'm going to those shows. So
the champ makes it work. I'm not too worried. Vinny's in the house. What's up, Vinny?
What up?
All right. What do we got? Oh, there it is.
R-Truth. So we have R-Truth. He is an honorary, unofficial member of the Judgment Day. And the only reason I want to talk about this was because I love that they're going with this with Judgment Day. Because
it's awesome.
The easy answer would be like what they did at Survivor Series to have him linked with like Alpha Academy or something, like that would be the easiest spot for him. But no, they're having him do the complete opposite of what everyone thought, and they're having him bother the Judgment Day. And I love that like Damian kind of has a soft spot for him because he's in the clubhouse again, and this time he brought an almost flat TV. I don't know if you heard him say that. It's an almost flat. It's almost flat, and it had static on it, and he said he got it for a good deal. And Damian is like, you need to get out of here, blah blah blah, and he just keeps coming up with whatever gibberish, and then JD yells at him.
This was going,
and that's when Damian is like, "Yo, like calm down, like say it like a little, like basically like say it a little nicer, like yeah."
That
And
was
so
so funny. I'm sorry, just little stuff like that.
well,
That's what really gets me, because that was just so perfect.
well, in truth, being like, "Yo, JD, they don't want you here," like not realizing it's to him. It's like he
That
like
was
that was
so funny.
so
He's a
stupid.
genius.
So he ends up leaving, but it's very clear that Truth believes that he is in the Judgment Day, and I'm here for this. I am totally okay with it. Um,
You mean
I
how
think
long
that
did
the
JD McDonough do it?
no, yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm curious to see how far they'll push
Yeah.
it though, because you have to like be careful about how
Yeah.
silly you are making
Toe
a,
that
a group
line.
of
Yeah.
heels. So you do have to like be careful with that. But otherwise, I thought it was hilarious. So, um, kudos to our Truth because he's an absolute gem.
That dude has MF in range. That's all I gotta say.
He's
Just
just
range.
I love that they're letting him be like his natural self. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's been around long enough that he has earned that right to kind of like do whatever he wants. But I like that I think it was important for him to have that heel turn when he did because he had never been anything other than our Truth, K Quick, whatever in
Yeah.
WWE. And I think at that point, yeah, it was a little stale. It was like, okay, yeah, everyone's looking forward to him coming out and rapping what's up and like saying what's
Mhm.
up with him, but it was like that was it. And like the little Jimmy thing, like he was such a lovable heel, but like you hated him at the same time. And they
Yeah.
had him go against John Cena. Like
That's big kudos.
I know I was in that promo video for John Cena versus R Truth. So
Capital punishment, baby.
yeah, I was in that one. Um, so yeah, I think it's great that they've gotten to a point where Truth is like, yeah, I'm just gonna go out there and be myself. It's like, yeah, we stand. We stand a king. We
We
stand a king.
stand here. We stand.
Then we move on to Cody Rhodes, who goes out to the middle of the ring to address Shinsuke Nakamura after he hit him with a miss last week, which was like iconic moment. Okay. So he goes out there and he blames himself for not paying more attention to what Shinsuke was saying for
Classic
weeks and
baby
weeks
face move.
over the day. And I am obsessed with Shinsuke Nakamura. I am that this is
It's
happening. I mean, we've talked about it, but I'm so excited that we're still going with the Shinsuke heel turn. I am so excited that we're still getting this version of him. And like I said, I think this was his best video. He talks about how they've had a similar path that they both won the Royal Rumble, so they got their title matches at Mania, but they both came up short. And Nakamura says, "I never got to finish my story, so I'm going to finish yours." And I'm like,
the
I died.
emotion
I died.
that he gives when he delivers this. He he doesn't have to speak any language that I understand. You understand what he means. And that's
Yep.
all you want at the end of the day, is to realize that this man is really sinister and dark, and he's a weird anti-hero in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, cuz he's not like he's just very dark, and the things that he says, like, we're the same and we fell into a bottomless pit, and that's how, and we're trying to catch our story and all this, and it's like, dude, yeah, but no, like it's so
Yeah,
well
but
done.
no, dude.
Yeah, but like we're not at the same time.
Yeah.
We're not the
You're
same.
a weirdo and I'm not. So
I'm Captain America, all right?
yeah,
Like
you're the boogeyman.
like
Weirdo.
he
Yeah,
Boogeyman could pop out there.
it's
Lighting
terrifying.
and all that is terrible. But it's some of the best heel work I've seen from someone in WWE in a very long time.
Yeah, I'm so here for this. I think that I'm glad that this wasn't something because it kind of felt like after what they were doing with Seth that like they were not really going to continue anything with Nakamura because it just felt very confusing and I was getting really disappointed because I was like, "Oh my god, you guys were doing such good work with him." And
Mhm.
then you're just going to abandon it because he didn't win. Like I'm so, he was kind of just like, as I say, like swimming in the abyss, basically
Yeah, literally.
um after his matches with with Seth. So like I said, I don't know if this was the original plan that he was supposed to go after Cody. But I don't care because I think this is brilliant, and I feel like going from Seth to Cody makes sense for Shinsuke.
Mm,
So it's not like anyone's gonna sit there and question that. And I like that he again is making the story deeper. Both of them did. Cody by mentioning, that the Great Muta scared the crap out of him as a child, and then he got misted, which I thought was great. And then we have Nakamura connecting their stories because they did go through the same thing. They won the Rumble, they got the matches at Mania, and they didn't get it. But then we know that Nakamura is not going to probably get that opportunity again, where we know that Cody will. So that I think makes it a lot more interesting than if this were just a randomly decided feud.
yeah.
And then we do get to see them allegedly face to face on Raw next week. So I am very interested to see when they actually like come face to face because
Mm.
we haven't seen that yet, other than when he blew the mist in Cody's face. So
Little fun tidbit. The Great Muta is Shinsuke's like mentor
oh,
in
I
New
know.
Japan.
Yeah,
So
I know.
that's another for him to mention that, and that was the first time you saw it. Like it's little details like that that make a story interesting. Like you could just be like, "Oh, Cody's feuding with Shinsuke again." Like, okay, whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but no, it's what he's saying in the promos that he's delivering. That he mentions Muda, which has a connection, obviously. And it's like, oh, okay, so this goes a little bit deeper than just two guys fighting for no
Mm-hmm.
reason. And the myths, like, I mean, how many people can say they've been misted in
Yeah.
WWE, and
Unless
especially misted by Great Muda?
I was gonna say, unless you were during the Tajiri era, then
Oh,
that
geez,
was every week.
every week. MF to Jerry, but yeah,
um,
it's just it's nice to see that happen, and you're only gonna get that type of storytelling with a guy like Cody Rhodes, and for him to be with Shinsuke, it only makes Shinsuke that gives Shinsuke that much more star power.
it makes me excited for what they're gonna do with him, like Rumble and Mania season, because I think we're getting to a point where they can't not have him featured. Like if they keep doing these types of things, then we need to see Shinsuke at Mania. Like he doesn't have to have a main
1,000%.
event, but like he needs to be on the card because like imagine like we loved that video package, of like the like comic book anime type of thing that they put together before his match with Seth. Imagine what they could do before his match at Mania. Like that
Oh,
would be sick. I'm very excited for
down
that.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we move on to JD McDonough and Dom Dom versus the Creed
These
brothers.
four too.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I love JD McDonough. But anyway, JD McDonough is crazy and he was able to do a lot of great stuff in this match. And I'm like, guys, I am
He's
so
an
glad that
incredible seller.
he's he's just great in general, a great wrestler. But are you really surprised that I would like a wrestler who was like literally trained by Finn Balor? I mean,
No,
come on
not even shocked in the
like
slightest.
very on brand.
You're living the gimmick.
Yeah. So this was a great match. Um Clearly the entire reason for this match, other than putting part of the Judgment Day against the Creeds who have a title match at some point, was to build the Creeds up even more, as if I mean I get that we need to do that. I feel like I don't know what else the Creeds are supposed to do to impress people. You know what I
I
mean?
mean
Like
that sequence that Julius
the kip ups in the it was
the
Julius.
the
Yeah.
belly to bellies into the kip ups.
Like
And Michael Cole, when you get Michael Cole to genuinely pop like that
yeah.
and talk about how difficult it is to do a kip up once, let
Mm,
alone in sequence in a row after you've hurled a man over you, it's
mm.
just that man is going to be a WWE or world champion in like 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah, because Cole even said he was like, and he's not even like out of breath. And it's like,
He
yeah, like
was not ready. He wasn't at all.
I know. I know.
It's
And that's
insane.
the thing. I mean, like it's like their gimmick is kind of corny to me just because it's like we train and we do this, but it's like
It's like a
that's what they're doing. That's the stuff they're doing. Like, they
Oh yeah.
actually implement those things into their matches. And so even though it's kind of just like, yeah, we're brothers and we train and we do weird stuff to train, it's like, okay, that's weird. But like they show you like it's involved in their characters. So to me, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No, I get
Um
that.
so obviously this was an impressive showing for the Creeds. They win clearly because why wouldn't they? But what is interesting, again, we talked about this last week or the week before, whatever it was, where we see Damien in the back with JD and Dom Dom, and they both basically like warn Damien about like how serious the Creeds are.
Yeah,
So it's like
that's what I found interesting with this whole
yeah.
thing.
So clearly they're definitely trying to build them up, obviously, but it makes it seem a little bit more interesting that it's like becoming uh it's something that they've now said multiple times to the Judgment Day, is what I'm saying. It's like the fact that the Judgment Day are now like, oh crap, like these guys are
They're on our
good.
radar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to get to comments before you go move on?
Yeah, so sports and wrestling connection. We love those two connecting dots.
What is up?
What's good, everyone? JD is way better than I thought originally. Yeah, his
Vinny.
NXT days. I
Vinny.
I caught the end of his NXT run, and I'm kicking myself I didn't start sooner because him in NXT was incredible. And you're only sort of seeing like the little bits of it.
Vinny needs to listen to us more. He needs to listen to me more,
Yeah,
actually.
acknowledge us.
No, me.
Acknowledge.
I'm the
Okay.
one telling him. I'm the one that's constantly telling you guys about the ones that you should be paying attention to
I mean, you
that normally
did.
you wouldn't be because they're heels.
I mean, you are. I just still can't get over the Giovanni Vinci. How for so long I just thought you were infatuated with him, but then when you watch his match against Carmelo Hayes, you're like, oh man, no, Gio knows ball. Gio no ball.
I love how you were just assuming that I was only attracted to him.
No, I knew you thought he was like good in the ring, but I didn't know the extent of like I didn't know that this man could just do a moonsault off the top rope after catapulting from one. Like I didn't know he had that in his repertoire.
Yeah.
I mean, and the crossbody last night, like
that's why I'm saying you guys should listen to what I have to say more. Because the thing is like, I'm not saying I'm right all the time, obviously, but I know that like when it comes to heels, first of all, most of the time they're not allowed to, like show you their full catalog of moves because like they're not supposed to, or at least that's the old school way of thinking that like the heel is not supposed to like upstage the baby face. So like they can't do everything. But also, even when they are allowed to do those things, a lot of people don't really pay attention because it's like, oh, well, I don't like you. So like, I don't like what you're doing. And so you kind of like overlook what they're actually capable of. And so that's why it's like kind of the beauty of us being like a yin yang kind of situation, because like, not that I hate baby faces, I don't. Obviously I love Cody. John Cena is one of my all-time favorites, so like obviously, but like when it comes to like paying attention to the heels, like that's me. And when you're the one that's like cheering on, all the good guys, the corny good
baby
guys,
faces, my guys.
yeah,
I love my corny baby faces.
Yeah, you like the squeaky clean. The squeaky clean. I like the bad guys.
Yeah, you're bad.
I like bad boys.
You like bad boys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what's the next topic we got?
Okay, so this one's quick, but this seemed important. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier.
Mention this.
We see this backstage moment between Adam Pearce and Seth Rollins as Pearce approaches Seth before his match with Jey Uso. To let him know that he did invite CM Punk to Raw next week and that he has all of the intentions of signing Punk to the show, which of course he has to because Randy just went to SmackDown and Punk is a Raw guy. Punk is not a SmackDown guy. It's kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You can't have Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not saying they're the same, but there's like certain people that like scream a certain show. Like Stone Cold is a Raw guy. Rock is a SmackDown
guy.
The
Rock created SmackDown.
Yeah,
yes.
So that's what I mean. Like, there's certain people that you associate with a show. Like, even Randy on SmackDown is a little odd to me, but I can get used to that.
No, it's not that odd to me.
It's a little odd to me, but like, But he was also in an era where it was like they were brand restricted, then they weren't, then they were brand restricted, and then they weren't,
Yeah.
and so that's why I think it's a little weird. But so anyway, so like they did earlier with Drew kind of like mentioning Punk without mentioning Punk at the beginning of the show, this was their way of like making sure that we still remember that Rollins hates Punk and that there is still animosity there. Because Rollins says that he does not give a damn if Punk is going to be there next week. And he says, when he eventually shows the world exactly who he is, I'm going to be here and I'm going to know what to do. I will do what I do. So
I like it. I
I
loved
like
what he
it.
said. I loved what he said because what it does is it coats over the fact that he does have issues in other
Mhm,
companies, or has issues not only in other companies but in said company before.
mhm.
And it also paints the light to the fans that, yeah, it's all great for you guys because you love them, but us backstage, like, we're kind of pissed. And there are definitely people who are pissed, but that's business. And it gives you that little peek into the fourth wall that you wouldn't see anywhere else, really. And that's what it makes it so good, so interesting.
Well, and I think that this is the best way for them to handle the viral video of Seth after he came out
Best.
at Survivor Series, because I we still don't know, as far as I know, definitively if that was planned or if that was a natural reaction from Seth. So it's like, because no one knows, I think this was the best way that they could handle it, because you can't go on and act like it didn't happen, but then you also can't act like it wasn't scripted. You know what I mean? Like you can't,
Hmm.
like you
Yeah.
have to kind of embrace it at this point, whether it was a genuine reaction or not. And
Yeah.
so I like that they're going through this and not acting like it didn't happen, but then also not ignoring what has happened in the nearly 10 years that Punk has been gone. We're not ignoring that he left the company, did a bunch of other stuff, was just in the other company talking some crap about this company, and like he made a lot of enemies through the years. Like, I like that they're still letting us see that, because it's like a lot of wrestling fans, especially, the demographic that predominantly watches WWE, are very well in tuned with what's going on because of the internet. And so a lot of them know what Punk did to get out of the company, what happened after he left the company, the fact that he went into UFC, that he went to AEW, that he did all of these other things and said all of these things. And so the fact that they're acknowledging it, I think, is the best way. It reminds me of like what they're doing with Cody. They won't say that he created help create AEW, but they'll like hint at it, and like mention that he was in a different company.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of what they're doing with Punk, and I think that's a smart way to do it, because you're not treating us, the fans, like we're dumb, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Agreed.
So then we get into the main event, which was Seth Rollins versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this was a great match. Obviously, I don't think anyone had a question of whether or not this was going to.
It was unbelievable.
It
It
was,
really showed that Jay could be like easily
and
in the
see
title picture.
what I find interesting, right? Is like I saw that as a reaction from a lot of people, and I was just here. I don't know, SmackDown, or maybe it was last Raw that we were doing, and I said that I'm not like the biggest Jay fan. It's nothing like I don't like Jay or I don't think he's talented. I'm just kind of like, like I'm just not, like I don't gravitate
He
to
is
Jay.
what he is. Like yeah, like you
Like he's
just
entertaining and he's
yeah,
phenomenal in the
you know
ring.
that, but it's not your favorite. You get that.
But what I thought was interesting is like all of these people's reactions being like, "Oh yeah, this was his best match," and like this proved he could be in the main event. I'm like, I didn't need this match to know that he could do that.
No, I thought his Roman match showed that he could do it.
Yeah,
In my case with this match, this just showed that he really is main event Jey Uso, and that you could throw him in pretty much any spot, and he's got to that point in singles competition,
see, I'm not quite there,
at least on
but
TV.
I
I'll give you
do think
TV.
I do think that he's proven that he is far beyond just being a tag team wrestler. And I think that was probably important
Hmm.
for him, because it seems like I mean, it feels like he has more of the aspirations to be like a solo guy than Jimmy does, just because of how different their paths have gone since Jay has left SmackDown and Jimmy still is there. It just seems like maybe Jay wants to be more of a solo guy or like experience some of that, whereas Jimmy is like, he has his solo matches, but we're not getting, Jimmy versus Roman. We're not getting him versus Seth Rollins in the main event of Raw. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, but Jay, I think, yeah, he's broken that mold where I think that a lot of tag team wrestlers get put into, because if you come up in a tag team, most people are like, okay, you're not good enough to be on your own. And that's why you're in a tag team. And clearly that's not true. And Jay has proven it too. I mean, like, they're both really good. And this was like, he was going against one of the best wrestlers in the world, arguably, in Seth Rollins. And I think this was like, yeah, it was a great match. And I really liked that they got a little chippy backstage,
Did like that. It added fuel to the fire of the main event. I did like that, and I liked
Yeah.
how it wasn't over the top, and it
Mhm.
was just very subtle.
Yeah.
What you wanted
Well,
out of those two faces.
yeah, because they're both baby faces, and it's like, okay, people are not going to know who to cheer for because people love Jay and people like Seth, and there's a lot of people who love both. So it was like they needed to have like a little bit of something there, I feel like. And I think the good thing about matches like this is like you kind of can't lose no matter who wins or who loses, because if you like them both, or like you're a fan of just baby faces in general, it's like you can't
Mhm.
lose, right? So this was a very physical match. Obviously, we saw Jay can hang. There's no question about that. The only thing I noticed was that it felt like the ending was a little bit rushed, and I'm thinking, they had like a half hour. They basically had the last half hour of the show.
They did have the last half hour, yeah.
But that like final sequence of like the pedigree into the stomp, like it felt a little rushed to me, and I think obviously it ended up because of. I mean, that's just me. Maybe it's not, but we did see. I was just gonna say Richard come out. No, Drew come out in his black hoodie to attack Jay post match and put him through the announcer's desk. And then we were just like, okay, cool. So full blown Drew McIntyre. And then this was officially
No yeets.
No yeet.
Yeah. There was just no yeet. There was no more yeet. So I think this was like the perfect opportunity for Drew to just like hammer it home that he is a bad guy, because yeah, attacking Sammy, that's bad.
One thing.
Possibly taking him out, that's one thing, but then you go after this well-beloved guy, Jey Uso, after he just lost the biggest match of his career outside of the one with Roman, and you attack him and put him through the
So rude.
announcer's desk. Like, perfect. People
So
hate
rude.
him. But then
So
I'm sitting
rude.
there and I'm like, yes, daddy, and everyone else is just like booing. But the thing that I thought was interesting also was that he kept saying the truth will set you free. What is he talking about? What's he talking about?
Little Jimmy's returning next week.
Okay,
That's what
I'm
that
being
means.
serious.
On
I
a serious note, I could see it really having to do with Judgment Day. The truth will set you free has to do with Judgment Day, because that's what Judgment Day is
In what
about.
way?
Because
What do you
there's no, I don't know. I just see you connecting to Judgment Day. I don't know how. I just see
I
it connecting somehow to Judgment Day.
Because for me, it's like, he at the top of the show, which I failed to mention, um, when he was talking about Jay and he was saying that he noticed last week that he was like immediately apologizing to Randy Orton and being like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Like, and he was like, "Okay, so you are capable of apologizing for the things that you did. You're just choosing to not apologize to me." And I felt like that was a huge thing, obviously,
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah. That's
I didn't even think about that the first time when we saw that last week on Raw, because you assumed that Jay was going to try and do something with Randy
Yeah.
to apologize. But I didn't put two and two together. I didn't even think about the fact that he hadn't done that with Drew. So I
I didn't
like that
either.
Drew mentioned that. And so then I'm wondering, like, when he's saying the truth will set you free, is it like, I don't know. I feel like does it have to do with like, are there ulterior motives for him to be on Raw? Is he not? Is he still lying about something? Is like I'm just
Oh.
that's what I'm trying. you had a brain blast, or are you just saying I think I have a good idea?
Right, that was a rude.
Well,
The way
because then you
just
stop
rolled
when you
your
say you
eyes.
have a brain blast, you stop listening to me. That's why.
No, my thing was no, because I was actually in tune listening to you, and you
Okay.
said there's ulterior motives for him being on Raw. Now you add Cody into the mix because he got him to Raw, and then that could potentially lead to his connection back to the bloodline. That's where my brain blast went based off what I listened from you.
So that's what I mean. Like, I just feel like there has to be something deeper because, like, and then this, I think it needs to have another level to their feud. Like, I feel like Drew can't be going into this full-blown bad guy persona just because a guy won't apologize to him, or like, I'm so mad that people forgave you. Like, there
It is
has
a
to
little weak.
be, like, there has to be a deeper reason. And so if he knows something about Jay that Jay's lying about or something, I feel like that makes it a little bit more understandable to people that why Drew would all of a sudden just like have all of these feelings, come out, and he's like beating people up and taking them out, and like he's so angry. Like, it would be better. And I mean, and like I said, he said the truth will set you free multiple times. So it's like, what's the truth? Apologizing to you? Oh, like that doesn't make any sense
I
to me.
feel like it has something to do with Judgment Day. I don't know why, but I just
I don't
like.
know. I think it has to
Why
do with
would
something else. But
that could too?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I think it's
I have
interesting,
no
and I'm
idea.
excited to see what it ends up being if we ever find out.
I think we will. Nothing in wrestling has been done or said
No, I know.
by accident.
I know. That is true. Do we have any comments that we want to get to
Comments.
before we're done?
Jay can't escape the bloodline. The past will always come back to haunt him like Drew. That is Jay's truth. Ooh, interesting.
Richard.
There you go. Truth that Jay can never get over his involvement in the bloodline. He will one day go back. I think Jay trades himself back to SmackDown after the Rumble. Ooh.
Oh my god. Sick. No, but this is the thing, is like, it doesn't even mean that he'll necessarily go back and join the bloodline. Like, what if he's out here trying to establish himself as like a main top guy, and then he ends up going back to SmackDown to like take down the bloodline? But I'm wondering, does he take someone with him? I don't know. Does he take Cody with him?
The Yeet Man, his fellow Yeeter.
Yeah, does he take him with him? That's the easiest way for Cody to then be able to challenge Roman without winning the Royal Rumble, because that was another thing people were saying. CM Punk or Cody? No. That would be an easy way for them to have Roman v Cody.
It would be. What is the Rumble in late January this year?
Yeah, it's always late January.
Yeah,
it's like
then okay, that doesn't make sense.
Weekend.
Okay, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think because we need to get Cody out of winning the Rumble. We can't have that happen again.
No.
And I mean, and even if this is like a small arrangement, like, oh, I'm only going to SmackDown until Mania. You know what I mean? Like, because I can understand if maybe you don't want Cody on Raw or on SmackDown all the time. But like, there's nothing in my mind right now that I can think of that makes any sense for Cody to be able to challenge Roman again without it being like, oh, I don't know, them somehow maneuvering around the rule of being strictly on one show, and that they somehow work a deal out with him where he's allowed to, or like Roman.
See, that's where my mind was going. We're like, oh, his SmackDown contract was up in 2024, but then that's still 3 weeks into 2024.
Yeah, I just think, it's going to be something where, like, I don't know, because remember, he was seen talking to Nick Aldis like 2 weeks ago, and we never figured out why. So it's possible that he's like, can you give me like a 3-month contract for SmackDown so that he can be there from like, Royal Rumble to Mania?
Yeah.
And then if he wins the title, he stays. And if he doesn't, then he'll go back to Raw.
He trades himself to SmackDown for Kevin Owens to reunite him with Sami Zayn, because I think that like.
But Kevin's doing fine on SmackDown, I feel like.
Yeah, he's in the U.S. title tournament. Can't throw a punch.
Yeah.
Can't throw a punch with that hand. Nathaniel, I will be watching AEW Dynamite tomorrow. I mean, do I think Adam Copeland should win the TNT title? Absolutely not. You need to keep that thing on Christian Cage. That thing is being launched to the moon, and Christian Cage is the sole reason because of it. And the whole patriarch gimmick he has right now, maybe one of the top 5 gimmicks in wrestling, hands down. So, Creeds are good, but they need a manager. Ivy Nile. Do we not?
I mean, they're not great on the mic, but I don't think that that's an issue. Plenty of people are not good on the mic and phenomenal in the ring, and they've had Hall of Fame careers. So, I don't know that they need a manager. I think they're too new to have a manager. Outside of Ivy,
KO versus Logan at Rumble. That would be nice.
Knock his teeth out, brother. Knock him out. But I also think that means that KO would have to win the tournament, because I feel like if they're going to have... I can't imagine that they'll have Logan defend his title on a random SmackDown. He seems like the type... Oh, okay. Whatever. It's possible.
He's facing him.
All right. Calm down.
I love that theory. I love
All
that
right.
one.
Okay.
You're just okay, brother. Thank you guys for tuning into this edition of Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Show Raw Rewind. We really appreciate everyone who tuned in. A lot of comments tonight. We loved it. We love hearing from you guys as always. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell notification to know every time we post. By post, we post all clips from the shows, and we want to hear your thoughts on them if we didn't get to them during the live stream. So go check those out, and then follow us on all social media platforms. Links are in the description below. And we're selling WrestleMania tickets. So please DM us at Pat_Pitts and at SMarshXO on Twitter for inquiries, serious inquiries. We want to give you guys an opportunity to go to WrestleMania, and we'll give you a fair price. We want to help out the peeps. That's what we do. That's what we do here. So, tomorrow I'm live, twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network for my made-up Patriots team that, oh boy, howdy, Sara, do I wish was real-life Patriots team. That's tuning in tomorrow at 5:30, twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network. So go and check that out after you check out all our videos in the archives. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We will see you Thursday. So Thursday episode. Yeah. Yeah.